For those of you who might have clicked on this video by accident, and for those of you who may not be from the DMV area, I did a story on a girl named Jakima Princess Hansen some time ago. She was a 14-year-old who was murdered because some guy saw her as a liability. The neighborhood where it took place is called Sursum Corda. She had witnessed a murder and they feared she might tell, so I understand I just gained like a few thousand more people, and if you're new to the channel, you may want to go back on the DC Originals playlist and check that story out first to get caught up. Or you could just follow along. But anyway, so I found this footage of the actual news segment titled Bearing Witness, where the camera crews came out to Sursum Corda and they did like a 30-minute special about all the murders, the living conditions, and they also interviewed Princess' mother and the officer and another guy who's sort of like the main purpose or inspiration for this video. His name is Curtis. Now, I haven't spoken to him. I don't know if he's still around or anything like that, but what he was doing during that period when Princess was hit was he was documenting the people who lost their lives tragically. Keep in mind, this was shot in like 04, before smartphones was even popping. I think in 05, we was on them Nextel chirps, but Curtis was from the quarters, and he had an actual camcorder. He would document crime scenes, make cards with the people's names, and write a little story about each person that was taken. But he didn't stop there. He documented some of the good stuff like basketball games, freestyles in the hood, and even his little cousin who was also killed. His name was Santino Henson, and he spoke about that situation also. So for the sake of YouTube, I had to blur out a couple of small scenes showing open caskets and bodies in the streets. Other than that, I'm gonna let the joint play.
She was a feisty young lady. Just an average kid, but she was feisty.
This is the story of a girl named Princess.
We do believe now that she did, in fact, see what took place.
The police wanted to know what she saw.
This is the murder in cold blood of a child who was suspected of having seen a murder.
What she saw cost her life and outraged the city.
Do I decide to do the right thing, get my son killed, my daughter shot? You weigh the odds, and the odds is keep your mouth closed.
In the midst of this silence, a voice speaks out.
It's a jungle out here. It's a war. It's a jungle. It's a war zone. That's why it's important for everybody to come forward.
Tonight, bearing witness, chronicling the casualties of war.
The Sursum Corda housing complex doesn't look like a dangerous place. Just blocks from the U.S. Capitol, close to tourist sites, nice places to eat. But it is dangerous, especially if you're a teenage girl and you happen to have witnessed a murder.
At the time, we weren't totally aware that she had witnessed it, even though we had interviewed her and her mother about that particular killing, at which time she denied any knowledge as to what took place.
Her name was Princess Hansen, a 7th grader at Washington's Shaw Junior High School. Last month, she was gunned down, allegedly by a neighbor in another neighbor's living room while she watched a movie. She was 14 years old.
It struck me as something that was beyond the ordinary, even for a city that leads the nation in homicides.
Washington Post columnist Mark Fisher was one of the many Washingtonians who were shocked and sickened by the murder.
I have a daughter in 7th grade, and Princess is in 7th grade. And I have a daughter who loves math and basketball, and Princess loved math and basketball. So, me personally, it stood out for those reasons. But I think it stands out for people all across Washington because we all have kids, and we all have people around us who might see something in the course of a day, usually not a murder, but you might see something, and you might think, well, it's my responsibility as a citizen to go and tell the police about it. And then all of a sudden you see a child is murdered for not even telling the police about it, but just being questioned by the police.
Family caseworker Yolanda Carter knew Princess well.
She was a feisty young lady. Just an average kid, but she was feisty. She wanted to do things. Just a lot of come from peer pressure sometimes from kids in the streets, fans. She wanted to make her mom proud of her.
She was born on Christmas Day, so her middle name became Princess.
Born on Christmas Day?
Yes.
Wow, some present.
Yes, it was.
Princess and her family had their share of problems. 2 older brothers in jail on drug charges, and Princess had been running with a tough crowd. Authorities now believe that Princess's murder is rooted in a complicated set of relationships among the drug dealers of Sursum Corda. Latin for lift up your hearts, Sursum Corda was planned as a village for low-income families. Now it is also home to one of the city's most notorious drug markets. One night in January, in this building across the street from Sursum Corda, Princess is believed to have watched a man she knew, named Marquette Ward, kill another man over the price of a marijuana cigarette.
Police came and knocked on my door and told me that they believe my daughter is a victim in a homicide. And they could subpoena her to come to court, or I could bring her down to talk to them. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I said, no problem. I went and take her to school and take her to talk to them.
Did you have any hesitation about taking her over there?
No.
No. You thought it was the right thing to do? Or,
yeah.
Or were you scared not to take her? I don't know.
No, well, basically, I wanted to find out what the situation was myself, and in order for me to find out, it was for me to take her there.
Although Princess insisted she hadn't seen anything, the police warned her she might be in danger.
We offer witness protection to everyone who we speak to about a homicide. However, they didn't take advantage of it and denied knowing anything about the homicide at all.
In hindsight, Princess's mother questions how the police approached her daughter, knowing the dangers witnesses face.
The mother feels that the police should not have had that meeting at the police station because the gang could have seen that happening, said, aha, Princess is talking, we better get rid of her.
A detective testified at a preliminary hearing that Princess called Marquette Ward, the man accused of the murder she is said to have witnessed, and discussed payment for her silence. She was killed that night. Soon after, police arrested Franklin Thompson, an associate of Ward's, and charged him with Princess's murder.
She actually went to her grave, quite frankly, with the knowledge, if any, that she had about that particular murder. We do believe now that she did, in fact, see what took place. And as a result of that, she was silenced so that she wouldn't speak with the police.
There's another way, Father God, besides selling drugs. Yeah.
While the circumstances around Princess's murder may be unusual, both police and residents say refusing to cooperate with the police is not.
This is not a game. People will kill you. When they say witnesses was killed, do they really know what that means? Somebody's life was taken because they decided to do the right thing. Now, do I decide to do the right thing and leave my children without a mother? Do I decide to do the right thing, get my son killed, my daughter shot? You weigh the odds, and the odds is keep your mouth closed.
In the awful tale of what happened to Princess, there is plenty of blame to go around.
Now, I expect that as I sit here, a lot of people are going to bash me.
Fisher wrote several columns criticizing city officials, including the mayor. Fisher says that perhaps out of defensiveness about their failure to protect the girl, officials seem to go on the offensive by spreading the word about Princess's family problems.
The fact is that she was assassinated because she knew something about a murder. And whether she should have known about that murder, whether she should have been in that place at that time, is really not germane to how the city should react when a citizen is killed because they know something.
There's no question about it. I could have handled it better. Could have handled it better. Don't get into some food fight with someone when a child's life has been lost. We're above that. Maybe the parents are not doing as much as they can be doing, but it's ultimately, everybody's responsibility, the community's responsibility.
Sometimes you want to make police into the bad guys or whatever. The guy who's responsible for Princess's death is Franklin Thompson, if he's in fact found guilty. That's who's in custody and who's charged with that murder. He's the guy who put a gun to her and shot multiple times into her body when she was defenseless. He's the villain in this whole thing.
2 or 3 weeks from now, her death will be forgotten, and it'll be business as usual.
Lord, you promised to lead me.
She's not the first youth that we've lost in this neighborhood, and she won't be the last. Until our city officials do something, it's going to continue.
The murder of Princess Hansen at the Sursum Corda housing project in Washington, D.C. caused a public outcry. Dozens of other teenagers have been murdered in the same neighborhood over the years, but few have merited more than a line or two buried in the Washington Post. 19-year-old Santino Henson met his end last March as he sat in a car in this parking lot adjacent to Sursum Corda, shot 5 times in the head.
The only thing we really know is that it wasn't for him. He was trying to find someone else. And Santino was just in the way, at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Santino might have been another anonymous homicide, were it not for his cousin, Curtis Mosey.
I know you lost somebody in your neighborhood or a close friend of yours. I want to know how you feel.
He is a community activist who preaches nonviolence to Northwest Washington teenagers. For 15 years, Curtis has chronicled life in his neighborhood, the good times and the bad. He makes it his business to ensure that no murder victim in his neighborhood is forgotten.
The personal lives where I have on tape, like I said, I have my live playing ball or whatever, I would take a scene of them doing that. I know as far as being themselves, walking around, you know, and having fun. Then I would go to the crime scene that I've shot of them people, and I put some footage of that all together. I put it into one piece, one reel, one segment. And it's called a tribute, rest in peace, a tribute about their life and how it came to a tragic end.
When Santino was killed, Curtis pulled together video of Santino's life.
Santino, my man. Santino, as my cousin, you know, he loved the band. He loved playing in the band. He played drums, and he was an MC rapper. He loved to rap. He played ball. He was quarterback. He loved the quarterback, and he loved his friends. Oh! And he was just like, you know, a quiet person. He was shy, too. You know, he was shy.
Camera in hand, Curtis attended Santino's funeral, as did young men from the gangs or crews of Sursum Corda.
They were standing over top of him, you know, these guys were crying, and they had the camera up in their face, you know, and they crying, they grieving. Then I went to the gravesite. That gave me an eerie chill as I'm filming it, and they were walking to his body where the burial site was at, and it was a quiet, it was a scary, chill quiet. Everyone just looking at each other, you know, just looking around, looking lost.
Later, Curtis invited the Sursum Corda crew members to his apartment to make a video tribute to Santino.
That was my man, you know, so I handled his business, though, when he had to, though. Yeah. Right. Kept it real. He told my man for real, man. Kept it real, you know. Missing like crazy, dog.
Yeah, man, everybody gotta go sometime, man. It's just a time to roll, you know what I'm saying? Can't stop God for what he do.
They're known as the Cordas, as in the Sursum Corda housing complex, which is their turf. The layout of Sursum Corda, with its blind alleys, courtyards, and limited access from the outside, makes it ideal for gang activity.
It's kind of hard to come through and pop shots off at us, you know? If you go around one way, you gotta come out the other, you know? It's only one way in, one way out, you know?
Summing that all up, that's all he's saying is you dealing with some real live niggas, no bullshit.
Like gangsters,
no,
you know?
Real, no joke, dog. Real live niggas off the break, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we ain't the type of people that's gonna start shit with you, you know what I'm saying?
The conversation ranged from complaints about the high rent at Sursum Corda to contempt for recent violence by Latino gangs in Washington.
They have no rules. How y'all feel about that? Being as though y'all have rules.
Beef, dog. Get that shit off of the niggas you got beef with. Don't just come around shooting, man. Little kids, man. No old lady, nobody, mother, sister. You don't get no stripes for that, man. You don't earn stripes. You earn stripes for taking your man out of the way. Right. Whoever you beefing with, if he ain't out, they roll out. You know? Or get at his man or something, but don't get at a little kid that's not doing nothing to you, don't know what's going on, riding his bike down the street, you want to shoot him. You going to hell for that one.
And then, a surprising statement of defiance from this young man, a senior at Washington's Dunbar High School.
It's my last year. Once I walk across that stage, I ain't even looking back. Everybody that said I wasn't going to do it, just because of the fuck we live at, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. We up in school heavy. Everybody from the hood up in Dunbar.
Dunbar, yeah. That's our school, yeah.
Yeah, dog. So they thinking just because they from down the quarters, they ain't going to do shit. But I'm about to prove all you motherfuckers wrong. That Lil Pep about to graduate this coming year, 2004.
Santino Henson was also determined to leave. He graduated from Dunbar High School less than a year before his death. His mother and aunt had high hopes for him.
I'm really hurt because he took my son's dreams away from him. My son was about to attend Gibbs College. I had to tell the lady that, she called me, I had to tell the lady that my son is deceased now.
He was a good kid. I mean, when I say a good kid, he was a good kid. And he was a smart kid. He was intelligent. He was brilliant. He had ideas. He was, he had a goal.
Last month, the young man accused of killing Santino, Kevin English, was released from jail for lack of evidence. No one, not even Santino's friend, who sat with him in the car when he was murdered, would testify against him. So the cycle continues. Citizens too terrified to risk their lives to put a killer in prison, even those who have lost loved ones.
It's hard. I don't know if I would come forward. I guess it all depends on who that person is being murdered.
If you didn't know the person?
If I didn't know the person, I would be a kind of fear for my life.
In the war against urban violence in Washington, Curtis Mosey considers himself a soldier.
It's a jungle out here, you know. It's a war. It's a jungle. It's a war zone. I'm out there, front line, you know. I don't carry a weapon. I don't carry a bulletproof vest. I'm out there trying to change the situation, and I need help. I need help.
On the streets, Curtis is known as C-Webb, a nod to his earlier experience as a Washington Bullets ball boy and one of his favorite players, Chris Webber.
And I had this Betamax camera, so I went out to the neighborhoods, you know, partying, filming parties, guys, you know, just trying to be a singer or rapper or dancer or on a basketball court, you know, in the hoods.
And then he just pulled out his gun and shot him in his neck.
Then, in the early 90s, at the height of the crack wars, Curtis began losing his friends, one by one, to street violence. He thought he could do something about it.
I'm in my neighborhood, get my camera, I run to the scene, I start rolling. And what I'm doing is not just filming. I'm filming, but I'm catching history.
It is a painful history. Through the lens of his camera, Curtis watched neighborhood boys grow into men, only to be struck down by violence.
I sleep with my light on, with my little lamp on, because it's like, you know, it's like I'm seeing so much death, you know. It takes a toll on you when you think about how many souls are lost, and you begin to weep. Not only did I have people's lives on video camera, but I had to also put it on paper. About 41 lives that were lost in the city. And each one by hand, I just tell a story about that person, whether they like basketball or just partying or rapping. I put each detail about that person and how they died and how they lived. Walter, shot and killed.
These 41 tributes are the centerpiece of a shrine that Curtis has built in his apartment, an apartment he calls the Safe House. Here he spends countless hours producing his raw footage into video packages about the tragic consequences of street violence and drugs.
You know, it's a safe house. It's a safe haven. You know, it's here, no drug dealing going on, no killing, no robbing.
Families of the deceased and gang members often stop by, looking for a chance to see their loved ones again. It is an epic of a neighborhood and of loss.
First, I mean, it used to come to me, it happened so fast. It happened so fast, and I was like, I just asked myself, why are these kids coming to me? Who am I? You know what I'm saying? I'm poor. I've started to realize maybe I'm used as a purpose in this lifetime to do something or to bring out a message to these kids. Because right now, they don't have anything.
Once, you know what I'm saying, you give a f about your life, a young nigga gonna test it, you know what I'm saying?
Man, we keep it gangster, young nigga.
You don't give a f, so that's how I feel about death.
I just keep it gangster, that's all you need to know. I just keep it gangster.
They are lost. They are lost.
What we about? Stop the back! What we about? Stop the back!
Curtis shares his message with as many kids as he can reach. He also gives presentations to local police officers who find themselves frustrated by the continuing cycle of violence.
As a police officer here in the city of D.C., you see a whole lot of stuff, and you deal with a lot of kids. And from my experience from dealing with these kids, some of them feel that their lives are short. They can't see tomorrow, and that's about it.
And life goes on. Curtis believes that if these stories can touch the heart of a seasoned cop, then there is hope for reaching the scores of troubled youth in his community.
Them tapes open their hearts and their minds up and like saying, why are we in this? Why are we fighting each other for? Why are we killing one another? I feel as though that this is history. This is a situation that has to be documented. It's not like I'm living on the outskirts, coming in town trying to do something. I'm ducking the shots too. I'm living amongst all this violence too. But I'm trying to make a difference. I'm trying to change that through my video camera.
Trying to bear witness to the war at home. This is Michelle Martin for Nightline in Washington.
Already this year, Washington, D.C. police report 27 homicides. 6 of the victims were under the age of 18. 3 of them lived in the Sursum Corda housing project.
Sursum Corda has made its way to the channel directly and indirectly in a couple of stories. And an old friend of mine, who we call Esco, he come from the Cordas. His real name was Jose Escobar. Rest in peace, Esco. He was hit in Southeast, but he was a good man and someone who I believe if he was given some time, he could have turned out all right. So I've been away trying to get inspiration again because I lost it working on a couple of videos. One was about Kenilworth and the other one was called Tony Fortune Final Moments. And because that Tony joint wasn't what I intended, I never put it out. But we right back at it now. It won't be long before I return with some more content, man. Kenilworth joint is still happening. I was able to find this specific article I was looking for that I couldn't do the video without. I gotta pay my respect on that joint. That's why, that one gotta be right. But the channel is called D.C Raw and Uncut. So it may get dark at times, but it is what it is. You know what you're getting. The South Capitol joint did like 250,000 views in 2 weeks. And I uploaded the real dispatch. Y'all probably gonna see it.